Guys, I've been an Arabic teacher about 4 years now. I've seen quite a lot of students by now. I've probably taught over 300 students in my time. But what's perhaps more upsetting than that is something that I see just among my friends in general. Like, I've got friends among the real spectrum of different levels of practicing Muslims, right? Like, I have some friends who I get a bit worried about sometimes, right? Like they're proper slacking. Again, and I've got some friends who seem to, at least on their appearance, be proper on it, mashallah. They seem to be seeking knowledge of Islam and seem to be practicing Islam and even leading their communities in some cases. And after last Ramadan, I heard many of them saying to me, next Ramadan's going to be the one where I know the Arabic language. I'm going to make an effort to learn the Arabic language by next Ramadan, and I'm going to get a much more meaningful experience of Ramadan because of that then. And I've watched people let another Ramadan after another Ramadan after another Ramadan slip through their fingers. And we're days away from some of these people, if they're not careful, letting another complete Ramadan slip through their fingers again. So what I want to do, what I'm doing in this whole lead up to Ramadan, is I'm just giving massive discounts away on the Arabic in 60 Steps program. So that will be a really good solution for tons of you. Unfortunately, it won't be for some of you, right? But if you've heard a lot about the Arabic in 60 Steps program, you like what I do, you enjoy the way that I teach, and you want to come on board, then now is a really, really good time to do so, right? I'm offering discounts, not because I need to, not because the course isn't worth much, but because I just want to tip some people into the program, right? I want to make it nice and easy for people. I want to make it a really, really easy decision for people to make, right? Because now is the time, right? If we're not careful, a lot of people are going to let the Arabic language slip through their fingers again. I know that you guys are listening to my podcast and you guys are watching on my Facebook chat, on my YouTube channel. It's like I'm preaching to the converted, right? You've only clicked on this because you care about Arabic. So, for you guys, I want you to care a little bit more. Right, for you guys who are, consuming stuff on my podcast and on my YouTube channel and stuff, which is amazing, right? Like, you guys are such a tiny percentage of the world, right, who have chosen to take learning Arabic seriously. So it's amazing for you guys, right? But, for you guys to get a really amazing result before Ramadan and even just during Ramadan, I want to invite you onto a serious, structured, well-resourced, and high-quality program. If it's not for you, then perhaps you can tell other people about it, inshallah. And even more important than that is that you just encourage people to learn Arabic who want to, that you direct people towards things that are good for them if they want to. So what we're doing in this episode of the podcast, this is obviously episode 31 of the podcast, we're going to be going over some of the Aayah of Ramadan, right? There's a specific Aayah of the Qur'an known as the Aayah of Ramadan, and I think it'd be a really nice way to prepare ourselves a little bit for the month of the Qur'an. Let's get into it.
شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون.
Assalamu alaikum everybody, this is Arabic teacher Sam and a very warm welcome to episode 31 of the Arabic with Sam podcast. It's been good, hasn't it, guys? I remember when I started this podcast in like August or September or something like that, and I really had high ambitions for this podcast, and it's an enormous blessing, that you guys are part of it, and we're at about 30,000 downloads now, alhamdulillah, and it's entirely, first and foremost, thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but massively thank you to you guys who have shared my podcast and have told people about it and have talked about it and have messaged me and interacted over the content and stuff like that. Really, really does mean the world to me, so I want to thank you guys, obviously. So, as promised, today we are going to talk about the Aayah of Ramadan. This is an Aayah that has about 45 words in it, so it's quite long. And there are a lot of like tafsir works on this. And actually, a little while ago, I don't know if it was actually done this year, if it was a previous year, but Nu'man Ali Khan on the Bayyinah Institute YouTube channel actually has a really nice like multiple video series on it. There might be 10 videos or something in it, and obviously he is much more qualified than me to go into things like tafsir and stuff like that. He's obviously more well read on that sort of stuff. But what I would like to do is take some of that information. I haven't watched it all, but take some of the information that he may have said in later lessons and stuff and just package it in a way that's useful for purely Arabic language students, right? It's important for people like myself who who teach Arabic to not go out of our lane, right? Like it is kind of our lane to repackage concepts of the Arabic language and present them in ways that are accessible for the beginners, and for the people who are part of their way along their journey. But it's not my. I need to be very careful that I don't step into doing things like, interpreting and, creating my own understandings of stuff. Like, I'm not that guy, right? But I can have a look at this passage, I can have a look at this ayah, and, unpick it for the Arabic student and bring up the different lessons. And we have tons of examples of loads of really useful grammar in here, so and really useful vocabulary as well, by the way. So, what does it say, right? What does it say in this ayah? This is the 185th ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah. Surah Al-Baqarah, the chapter of the cow, is the cow. The word Baqarah only means a female cow, right? There's another word for a bull. Baqarah is a female cow, and this is by far the largest surah of the Qur'an. I remember it's the first surah of the Qur'an that I ever listened to, but completely by accident. Like I remember, obviously I'd never met a Muslim in my life when I was about 17, when I first heard about Arabic and heard about Islam and stuff. And I remember the way that I first heard about Islam was, I was studying it at college. I went to a college in Cornwall, really big college actually, and I was doing studies of religions. And I remember it was part of our homework that we had, that our teacher sent us an email with a link to like Qur'an Explorer or some website like that, and we just had to listen to some surahs of the Qur'an and write about how it might make believing Muslims feel. And I remember looking through this list of different chapters of the Qur'an, and some of them were written in Arabic and some of them were like in English. And there was this one, the bumblebee. One of them's like the bumblebee. There's another one. I was like, what's a Yasin? What's Al-Ikhlas? And there was this one at the beginning, and I was like Fatiha and Baqarah. And I thought I'll just play Al-Baqarah, right? Like, I think I played Al-Fatiha first. I was like, it was a little short one. It was done in about 10 seconds or whatever. And I was like, we're in Al-Baqarah. And it went on for hours. I remember thinking that my teacher had like stitched me up or something, or it was like a massive extended task and I had to listen to all of it. But so Al-Baqarah is a big surah of the Qur'an, right? That's just a little window into my brain as a 17-year-old Sam's in his bedroom in Cornwall. And yes, that was the first time I ever heard the Qur'an, and the first ever surah that I really listened to, like long surah that I listened to right through the end, was Surah Al-Baqarah. And I remember even before I'd ever met a Muslim in my life, I'd memorised about the first 10 pages of it just because I just loved it. Must have been Sheikh Sudais, just from memory, who was reciting. Must have been. Sheikh Sudais is always the default, or at least most of the time. So anyway, little side note there, little bit of a tangent. So let's have a look at it. This ayah begins with Shahru Ramadana. Shahru Ramadana. Sam, why isn't it Shahrun, right? Normally we have Shahrun for a month, or Ash-Shahru for the month. Well, this is a mudaf, yeah? We're saying the month of Ramadan. Shahru Ramadana. And, and it's an idafa, yeah? We're saying the month of Ramadana. And, Ramadan has a fatha because it's mamnu' min as-sarf, right? It's the name of a month, but it's not just the name though, actually. It is quite an ancient word, actually, in Arabic. It does come from... there's another term in Arabic, ar-ramd. Ar-ramd is to do with sort of scorching something. I know it kind of shares roots with words in the dictionary for kind of earth being scorched and stuff, and I think that's quite beautiful and poetic, actually, how, we'll come on to something else. We'll explain that a little bit more about why that's so significant, but obviously it's very obvious to us in the UK with Ramadan because it's so hot here at the moment in Ramadan, but I think it actually does have its origins in a time previous to when the Arabs used a lunar calendar, when they used a solar calendar, and Ramadan was a hot month. It was like in August or something. And if it's hot for the Arabs, it's seriously hot. The Arabs have like 4 different ways of talking about the months. There's like 4 different calendars, and in the actual original Arab one, the name for August is Ab. Sometimes people say Ab Lahab. Lahab is like a flame or a spark or something like that. It's just a way of saying how hot August is. So we have the month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan. Shahru Ramadan. Alladhi is from al-asma' al-mawsula. It's from the relative pronouns. It just means like the one which, or which, yeah. So it's the month of Ramadan that, or the month of Ramadan which. And you use it to you're going to say something else about it, right? Like if we're just saying the month of Ramadan is awesome, then you don't need the one which is awesome, right? You don't say Ramadan is the one which is awesome, unless you're going to say something else about it. Unzila. unzila. Unzila fihi al-Qur'an. So unzila is it's just from the verb anzala, right? It's a form 4 verb, by the way, anzala. But unzila is the passive. It is still past tense, it is still a fi'l madi, but it's unzila. So the month of Ramadan, which was sent down, fihi, in it, al-Qur'an. The Qur'an was sent down in it, right? So shahru Ramadan, the month of Ramadan alladhi, that which was sent down in it, the Qur'an. And I wanted to come back to the idea of the earth being scorched, like the idea of Ramd being kind of hot and dry and sort of sun-baked is a term that the dictionary uses for it. And that Allah uses the word anzala, the verb anzala, a lot for sending down the rain. Like anzala means to send down. There's anzala, and then the form 1 is nazala. Like nazala is to come down yourself. If you're a lot of time I remember when I used to teach these Libyan kids, I used to teach them in a room upstairs, but I'd hear like the parents say to the kids, inzil, like come down. Yeah, inzil means like come down the stairs. And but anzala is to send something else down. And it's used many times in the Qur'an for when Allah talks about the rain, about sending rain down. Like the same way that Allah would send rain down to bring nutrients to a sun-baked earth. In this month, Allah sends the Qur'an down for a drought of spiritual peace, right? That throughout the rest of the year, we have a drought of actual satisfaction in our lives. Do you know what I mean? Like we distance ourselves from Allah, we're neglectful of our religion, and we have this month where the Qur'an comes down, and that the Qur'an was revealed in, and it is the month of the Qur'an, and and it's kind of the equivalent, right? It's kind of the spiritual equivalent of rain coming down. The Qur'an comes down to our hearts the same way that the rain comes down to kind of nourish the ground. So what is it? Okay, what is this Qur'an? Allah describes a couple of other ways, the other couple of things that the Qur'an is afterwards. So, maybe one thing I would just say. We have unzila, it was sent down. And the reason why it's al-Qur'anu is because this is na'ib fa'il. Passive verbs don't have a fa'il, but they have a na'ib fa'il. So it means it does still take a dhamma. It is the thing of that which has been sent down, right? That's a useful lesson. That's a useful little thing for you guys to pay attention to who are in step 7 in my program, because we talk about passive verbs there, and how the objects of the sentence or whatever become a na'ib fa'il and stuff like that. So what is it? It is a hudan. It's a guidance. Linnas, not just for the Muslims. Linnas, for all mankind. Wabayinatin. How should we translate that? Well, it's translated as clear proofs, right? That's how it's kind of translated, but it does have connotations of it being something spoken, right? It's a spoken proof, right? Wabayinatin min al-huda. And clear proofs from guidance. So it's a guidance itself, and it has clear proofs from that guidance, which is interesting. Wal Furqan, and it's the Furqan. Al Furqan gets translated as the criterion. I mean, I've never heard anyone use that word in my life, and I think it's more helpful. It's more helpful to look at the Arabic word Furqan, the word farq, a farq. We use the term farq all the time. You can say, ما الفرق بين هذا وذلك, like what's the difference between this and that, or الفرق is the difference, it's saying the difference between this and that. I suppose the criterion, I suppose in English maybe we have the word criteria, right? It tells you what's right and wrong. That's what the criterion is. So I suppose that's what it is, right? I mean, we could use the term criterion, but accept it for the translation, because more qualified people than me have translated it, but understand that it what that means is it's the criteria for right and wrong specifically. Nice. So afterwards, those of you a bit further on in the 60 Steps program will appreciate this. If you're in like step 40s, then you'll do kind of conditional phrases and stuff. You do like, if you do this, then that will happen. And we have something similar here. So we have فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. فَمَنْ, so who? So he who, shahida. Shahida is a nice form 1 verb. Shahida yashhadu in the present tense. Means to witness something. So, and it's the same shahida as when you say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. It's the same shahida as that. So whoever shahida, whoever witnesses, minkum, from among you, whoever from among you witnesses, ash-shahra, the month, okay? It doesn't, Allah doesn't need to say, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمْ شَهْرَ رَمَضَانَ فَلْيَصُمْ. He doesn't need to say that because we've already mentioned the month, right? Like a few lines before, a few words before, Allah said شَهْرُ Ramadan. So we know what month he's talking about. In fact, yeah, another way of wording that same thing, rather than Allah even saying, so whoever from you witnesses the month, then he should fast. Allah could have said, so whoever from among you witnesses it. فَمَنْ شَهِدَهُ مِنْكُمْ فَلْيَصُمْ. But he didn't. Allah reiterated the month, telling us how, perhaps how important the month is in itself, just through the repetition of it. So he who should witness the month of Ramadan, فَلْيَصُمْ, then he should yasum. The verb to fast. Sama, yasumu. It is a hollow verb. Step 9, by the way. فَلْيَصُمْ. So he who witnesses the month, then he should fast. Okay? Means women as well, right? It doesn't just mean men. The default is that it means men and women, unless mentioned otherwise. What else do we learn, though? Okay? وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا. Nice. Step 10. مَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا. And whoever is marid. Whoever is marid, whoever is sick. The word marid is sick. A marad is a sickness. A mumarrida is a nurse. Some other good words to come from that. The verb tamarada means to pretend to be sick. There's some cool words that come from that. So, and it is maridan. Why? Because kana wa akhawatuha tansib al-khabar. They make the khabar have fathas, basically. So whoever is sick. أو على سفر. So there's two different things going on here. So Allah's talking about an exception to that rule, right? So for whoever is sick or they're on a journey, فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. So then an idda means like a period, really. It means like just a period of time. Then that period of time, min أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ, from ayyamin, obviously because it's min, we have ayyamin, right? We have min ayyamin, we have from the days, ukhar, from other days, right? Like if you're fasting or if you're sick, then you don't need to fast on those days. So if you're traveling or if you're sick, you don't fast on those days, then you can make them up from other days, right? That's what it's saying. What words do we need to know? So aw is just or, ala upon safar, or if you are upon a safar, or if you're upon a safarin. فعدة من أيام أخر. يريد الله. We hear this all the time, right? يريد, he wants. أريد, I want. تريد, you want. Allah wants. يريد الله. Allah is the fa'il here. So Allah is marfu', has dhamma on the end. يريد الله بكم اليسر. Allah wants bikum. Allah wants by you al-yusr, ease. Yusr is ease. وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرِ. So Allah wants by you ease, and He does not want by you difficulty. I've never heard it, but it'll be interesting if any of you guys do watch the Nur Madani Khan series all the way to the end. If there is something noteworthy about Allah saying, Allah doesn't say, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْيُسْرِ. Allah doesn't say He wants ease for you, or He doesn't want difficulty for you. He says He doesn't want difficulty, He wants ease by you, and He doesn't want difficulty by you. I don't know if we kind of take out a message from that so sometimes in Ramadan we are difficult to other people sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know, honestly, some people in Ramadan, like, there's some people, right, like, it's not a majority, it is exceptions, but like some people just really don't understand why they're fasting, right? Like, not that I do, not that I've ever had like a perfect Ramadan, or I ever conduct the etiquettes of fasting properly, but like some people are like openly really miserable and angry that they're not eating. Do you know what I mean? They make other people's lives really hard. I don't know if there's something in that, right, that we, But anyway, we're not focused on that. We're focused on the language, right? So, and that's why, because it's not what Allah does and does not want, right? It's the object of the sentence, which is why al-yusra has a fatha and why al-usra has a fatha as well. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ. لِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ. This must come from the verb أكمل, meaning to complete something. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا, so that, so complete العدة. Yeah, this is, وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ. That you will complete the iddah, the period that you should be fasting if you skipped any days during Ramadan for traveling or because of sickness. وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا. The verb kabbara is where we get the word takbir from. The verb kabbara literally means to glorify something or to make something big. There's actually a verb kabura, a form 1, meaning to kind of grow or to be big. But kabbara means to consider something else big. And I suppose takabbara must be to consider yourself big. Hence why Allah is al-mutakabbir. And Allah knows best. But yeah, so walitukabbir, Allah is saying, and that you may glorify, right? That you may say Allahu Akbar, that you may do, you may be doing a lot of Allahu Akbaring, right? Ala ma hadakum, upon that which, ma hadakum, that which Allah guided you. وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. What does wa mean? It means lots of things actually, really, but in this case it just means and, right? لَعَلَّكُمْ. La'al is nice, it just means perhaps, or kind of maybe, or so that, right? La'alla carries with it a meaning of like, all of this, what's just happened before, so that something else might happen, right? It's kind of, in considering that which has just happened, or we've just talked about, perhaps this will be the case, right? La'allakum, maybe you will, tashkurun. Tashkurun being the plural of you lot, tashkurun, from the verb shakara, yashkuru. Tashkuru would be you thank, tashkuruna is like you all thank, or you are all thankful. I know we kind of ran over some of the concepts quite quickly with that, but I just thought, like, as I said, we covered like 45 words in that ayah. So we, there's really quite a lot for us to get through. So some of it I rushed over, but some vocab for us. The word for shahr, right? It's meaning a month. The plural of which is ashhur. So shahr, alladhi, the verb anzala, the word annas. Most of you probably know that, but if you don't, take it away. Min and fi are obviously really useful as well. Shahida, the verb shahida. The verb, falyasum. There's actually a little hu on the end. Falyasumhu. It's not just saying so fast. It's so fast it, right? So fast the hu, the shahr of Ramadan. Falyasumhu. But yeah, it's a tajweed rule why you say falyasum. You don't need to pronounce the hu on the end. Falyasum. Yeah, from sama yasumu, and it's falyasum because this is jazm, right? That's why you squeeze the waw in the middle. You do majzoom to it. You make it falyasum, not falyasumu. It's just falyasum. But if you were just conjugating the verb sama, it is sama yasumu. Very nice. And the noun from it is sawm or siyam as well. There's another ayah which we could talk about sometime, but it says in it kutiba alaykum siyam, that fasting is written upon you or is prescribed for you. What else will kana murid ala safar ayyam in the plural of yawm, yurid yusr and usr, the verb akmala and kabbara. Nice. Okay, I think we've actually done quite a lot. We've actually covered quite a lot of new words and stuff and talked about quite a lot of important things. So that is everything for this episode of the podcast. Thank you very much, guys. May Allah bless you guys. At the moment, I'm hustling to try to get some other people on the podcast. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to mention them, maybe. Some of them I know, well, I know all of them personally, right? And I've messaged them personally. But if you know them, advise them to come on the podcast, inshallah, because that'd be really helpful. So, there is a brother who runs Arabic Unlocked. You might have seen, if you're interested in Arabic generally, and like you search for Arabic stuff generally, obviously your Facebook feed is going to be full of Arabic stuff. And there's like an organisation called Arabic Unlocked. They're working on an app at the moment. And the brothers are actually based in the north, but I'm going to try to find a way to do a podcast with them. There's another brother who runs Fluent Arabic. I believe it's that way around, Fluent Arabic. And we've talked quite a few times. He runs a really amazing Arabic blog, actually. And I want to have him on the podcast sometime as well, inshallah. Brother Imran ibn Mansour, aka Dawah Man, I know him personally, right? We've met a couple of times and we're in the DMs, we're sort of messaging each other and stuff. I'd love to have him on the podcast. He has such an amazing organisation over at the Knowledge College, and, like, he's obviously seen a lot of people increase their Islamic knowledge, and it'd be really nice to speak to him just about what an impact Arabic has on people and learning Arabic and his own experience learning Arabic. Because, mashallah, tabarakallah, like, say Allahumma barik, like, he is at a level where he can access texts originally in their Arabic, right? Like, you often see him on his Instagram and stuff that, advising books in Arabic that he's read and stuff, and it's pretty cool. And then obviously we have his younger brother as well, Saad. I really like Saad. I remember I last Ramadan I went to London and had iftar with them, and I spent most of the evening with Saad. I just like him. He's about the same age as me, and he's an Arabic teacher as well. In the Knowledge College, there's a course called the Arabic Code, and he's the instructor of that whole program. And we're about the same age. We both have one child. And we're about the same size as well. I just wanted to grab him and hug him, and I just wanted to wrestle him. Like, I don't know, sometimes I just meet people and I just really like them, and I just want to be a close brother to them. I just want to grab them, and I felt that with him. So, but thankfully to his, thankfully for him, I didn't actually sort of just grab him and start sort of wrestling him, but I felt that urge. So we want Saad, inshallah, on the podcast as well. And then also the brother who works with me as well, brother Ismail Beaumont, founder of Maysor Arabic. May Allah bless him, may Allah bless his projects, may Allah bless his family. He's a graduate of the Islamic University of Medina. It'd be amazing to talk to him about the Medina books, obviously first and foremost because he teaches them. It'd be amazing to talk to him about his Arabic language learning journey actually in Medina as well. Would be incredible. And then also, I'd like to reach out to some other people who did my degree. Other people who I graduated with. There's about 20 of us who graduated with my degree in Arabic. And it'd be really cool just to have some of them come into the podcast and talk to them about where they are now. Because to the best of my knowledge, I'm the only person who's using Arabic in their jobs. And that's only because I've made up a job. Do you know what I mean? The thing is with Arabic is, unless you're careful, you can finish with a degree, but you might only be able to use it for that. It's a really tough one. I remember when I left uni, I was not in a position ready to be an interpreter or a translator or anything when I left uni with my degree in Arabic. Fresh out of uni, just done 4 years of Arabic. I was not ready to do anything. It's mainly knowledge since then that I've acquired that has enabled me to do, translating and stuff in Arabic. And more importantly, the Arabic with Sam project and stuff, and create the Arabic in 60 Steps program. These are the books, by the way. If you haven't seen them before, they're beautiful. These books. Podcasts, sorry guys, I'm showing them to YouTube. I'm showing the books to YouTube. So we have a load of guests who I'd absolutely love to bring on the podcast, inshallah, because I think it needs to get a bit more lively up in here. We need to get some other people's journeys, other people's experiences and stuff onto the podcast and stuff too. If there's anything in particular that you want on the podcast, you can suggest it. However, the people who get the most say are the patrons of the podcast, because, alhamdulillah, we have a Patreon page. It is because of the Patreon page that we've been able to have this beautiful new microphone that I talk about all the time. And, because one brother very, very kindly just donated it, So the people who are patrons, you can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. And, that has an enormous impact on being able to produce more episodes of the podcast, being able to do research for the podcast and sustaining it. So, that's awesome. And there's other incentives and stuff. You can get stuff. You can have a say on, up and coming episodes. You can have shout outs in the videos and stuff like that. You can, even right at the top end, we have merchandise that we give to you. When you're contributing, not just a couple of dollars, but a fair few dollars. So contribute a fair few dollars, inshallah. That's everything for the podcast, guys. You have a really, really awesome week, inshallah. Make sure you come over to the YouTube channel as well. I'm going to be putting out more content. And throughout the rest of Ramadan, we're going to try to do 3 videos a week. Keep on engaging. Keep on learning Arabic. You guys are doing absolutely amazingly. Keep up the good work, inshallah. Stay consistent. Keep your head down. Work hard. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.